Welcome back to the studio, and we are joined today by Charles Rosa, UFC featherweight, and former WC champion Mike Brown, quasi-retired, but not completely, perhaps.
Unofficially retired.
Unofficially retired, there we go. That's a much better way of putting it. So, gentlemen, you're here in Stockholm. How are you guys enjoying yourselves?
Having a great time. Everything's going perfect. I was a little worried when I first flew in, but since I got here, once Mike showed up, it's really changed my mood. Everything's going great. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make weight. Everything's going to be great, and that's it.
Now, Mike, you're a bit more familiar with the Swedish MMA scene. You've been here for the two previous UFC shows, but this is your first time in Sweden, correct?
Yeah, first time in Sweden.
And so it'll be interesting getting both perspectives. What are your guys' respective views on the Swedish MMA scenes and the Swedish MMA fans?
Well, Gustafsson has turned into quite the star, that's for sure. He's probably the, biggest or most well-known fighter in all of Europe, I would assume. And we have a few Swedish fighters training with us at American Top Team. Sir Wonka Kai being probably the most famous. Tough dude, man, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Charles, I know you haven't been here for long, but have you gotten the chance to get any impressions?
Not much. I've been in my hotel room a lot, just focusing on the fight. But I think it's an awesome country for sure, and I like it here.
All right. Well, now, aside from being UFC fighters, you guys are also, obviously fans of the sport. Is something you enjoy doing. And one thing that I've been asking a couple fighters, and it might be a hard question to answer, but do you guys remember the first MMA fight you ever saw? And if so, what impressions you got from it?
Like the first UFC or first MMA fight?
First MMA.
That's
or
easy
if it's
for
too
me.
hard, you can go.
That's easy for
it's
me.
Easy?
Yeah. UFC first one was I got a VHS copy of UFC 2.
Okay.
This was in probably '94 or something like that. Somebody had rented one at a video store, and I was like, it changed my life. I was like, man, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's like, Royce, ran through a tournament, and I wanted to move to Brazil and learn this jiu-jitsu, man. I was like, it literally changed my life. First one I ever saw live was on pay-per-view was then UFC 4. That was the first one we rented, and that was amazing. And the thing that stood out most in that show was when Keith Hackney was punching Joe Son in the balls. My living room was going crazy. Everyone was wah, coming out of their seats. It was pretty intense.
And it was at that point when you realized that's what I wanted to do?
I was still but at that point it was only heavyweights. Yeah. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to learn the techniques. I didn't necessarily want to fight. I just wanted to wow, I thought the techniques were cool. I thought what Royce was doing was really amazing, and damn, I want to learn this jiu-jitsu, but I had no ambition of actually being a fighter, but it was for some reason I was always fascinated with fighting, even as a kid, whenever there was a fight. Actually, I was just talking with Dustin Poirier a couple days ago about this. Every time there was a fight at school, I was never in it, but I was always pushing my way to the front of the pack so I could see it. I loved to see it.
Well, obviously it came into fruition as well, that interest.
I was always fascinated. I don't know why. What about you, Rosa? When's the first one you saw?
Yeah, I was the same way. I loved fights in school. That was definitely probably my favorite thing to watch when I was in school. But I think the first thing that really got me motivated with it, that really got me into MMA, was actually Kimbo Slice. I was watching Kimbo. I thought he was
You're
the toughest
not alone,
guy.
though.
No, but I thought he was the toughest guy in the world. I thought nobody could beat him. When I watched him, I was like, man, that's him. I didn't know much about the UFC. I didn't know much about MMA, and I thought Kimbo was the toughest guy in the world. And when I moved to Florida, it was only 6 months into training, I got to meet him, and it was probably one of the coolest things ever when I got to meet him. I got to go over his house and play paintball, and I went over to play paintball with him, and it was funny because they gave me a gun and they were already playing, and I went out into the woods, and the first person I saw was Kimbo, and I was he was in the other team, and I was I'm not going to shoot him. I just ran into the tree, but it was pretty cool. Definitely, I think it was Kimbo Slice. Just watching those backyard fights, I thought it was the coolest thing, and then that's it. Yeah.
All right. Do you remember the first UFC fight you saw?
First UFC fight. Well, I used to rent the ones from Blockbuster, but I couldn't remember the names and stuff. I was younger. My older brothers used to rent the movies, and we used to watch them, and I used to definitely love them. I watched a lot of K1, like Remy Bojanski and those fighters, so I was really into those. More, I think I watched more K1 than UFC in the beginning, but I definitely used to go to Blockbuster and rent the UFC ones. I just don't know who they were. Like I remember the big, huge, fat guy fighting the skinny little guy, and I've watched them all, but I just don't know the names as much.
All right, well, fair enough.
Yeah.
This isn't a game of statistics anyway.
Yeah.
It's about fighting at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, but what about other inspirations? If you look at just athletes or martial artists in general, any particular people who stand out as a big influence or inspiration?
Yeah, I used to watch football a lot more. I don't watch as much. I'm more into MMA now. But I liked when Tom Brady first came into the NFL for the New England Patriots. I thought, he was a 7th round overall draft pick. He didn't even start in college. Like he barely got drafted, and now he's like one of the greatest players of all time. And I think it's just he got his chance. He got his chance, and he made it shine. And I feel like that's similar to what I have. I have a chance right now, and I'm gonna shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike?
Famous athletes that inspired us type thing?
Yeah, or not necessarily athletes, but someone who may have inspired you in your MMA career.
I guess one of the first inspirations I probably ever had in my sporting career was like my high school wrestling coach, a guy who taught us how to work hard and what happens when you do. He kind of showed the importance of the guy who works the hardest has the most success. And wrestling is a sport where there's like definitely a direct correlation of hard work and success. You don't even have to be the best athlete, but if you work really hard, you can go really far.
And what's the most entertaining MMA or UFC fight you guys have ever seen live? And I'm not talking about TV. I'm talking about in the stands, in the arena.
I don't know. You got one?
I would say not necessarily the fights, but it was up there. I'd say UFC 100 was like one of the best weeks of my life. I remember like having a great time in Vegas that week. It was just like fan expo, and there was a lot going on, and the fights were good. Fights were amazing. That was a pretty badass week for sure.
And sorry, do you?
I was actually at CFA Championship Fighting Alliance in Miami, and Fallon Fox fought somebody. Do you remember who she fought?
Yeah.
Who she fight?
I don't know, but she
Something
lost.
about it. I was cage side, and I just remember like Fallon Fox. I was fighting some girl, and she lost. The girl beat her, and I thought it was like the coolest thing because no one thought the girl would win, and she beat like
The crowd was terrible, really, too. Like how bad everyone was like heckling. I kind of felt bad for Fallon Fox. It's like there's a lot of controversy about her situation.
And for those who aren't aware, she is a transgender female MMA fighter. So,
but the stuff people say is like just terrible, and it's not like private thoughts people are saying amongst. They're just screaming like the most terrible things. You could yell.
It was exciting. I was there, and the place.
The place
was cool.
Was
fight,
loud.
but.
Yeah.
All right. So MMA is a constantly evolving sport. We see new techniques added every day. Are there any sort of newer techniques? For example, when the Showtime kick was first debuted, I don't think not many people were talking about doing techniques off of a cage. Are there any new techniques that you guys have seen or noticed, or anything that you feel like you might want to add to your games?
I practice the wall kick once in a while at the end of wrestling practice.
No,
I said I practice the wall kick every once in a while. When I run around practice, I'll jump off the wall and try it. But I don't know. The sport's always evolving, and I try to evolve with it, and I just kind of pick up on things. But what about you?
Nothing that people haven't already seen, but some of the newer things that I just started adding to my game the last couple of years is like instead of like kicking the quad, trying to kick lower on the calf. Mm-hmm. You see that, like see Ben Henderson using it, Cub Swanson. You see some guys like that, which I had never seen like 5 years ago. That was like a kind of a newer thing. Front kicks to the face or the solar plexus. You didn't see 5 or 6 years ago either, or maybe that's maybe about when it started coming around.
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, you didn't see any of it. you know, in the UFC anyway. But,
it seems like lately a lot of unorthodox strikes to the legs are becoming popular. In particular, hand strikes to the legs, punches to the legs, hammer fists to the legs. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that a lot. Actually, it was funny because I had a Muay Thai championship fight when I was an amateur, and one of the things I did, and I mean, it was a really close fight, and I remember I was elbowing his thighs when we were in the clinch because he had a good clinch, and I remember it was really effective. I mean, I haven't used it much since, but I do. I mean, anything can be effective if you believe in it. So I think it works.
Yeah, just a few nights ago, I saw Yoel Romero was using in the Kennedy fight, and he was hitting pretty hard. Like you could hear the leather like pow pounding on Kennedy's leg. I'm not sure, you know, if it hurt him or not, but you could see that he had some. He was landing with some impact for sure.
So you guys haven't actually felt these leg punches yourselves?
I've never used one. And I've never actually, I don't think nobody's ever punched me in the leg either.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think I've been punched in the leg.
All right. Now, there's a lot of big UFC fights coming up. One in particular that I personally am very much looking forward to, Anderson Silva and Nick Diaz. A bit of a crazy fight, perhaps unexpected, and hopefully it'll still happen. We're not sure with Nick Diaz's DUI situation, but it looks like he's going to be able to fight. I want to know, what are you guys' thoughts on this fight, and who do you have picked as a winner?
Go ahead, Mike.
Man, I don't like to make predictions. That's I mean, two great fighters, and that's cool, man. I want to see it. You know, I'm not certain. You know, I don't know if Nick's ever fought at 85. Has he? 185 at middleweight.
He had earlier in his career.
He's going to be, I think, a little undersized, but Anderson's aging. You know, I don't think he's the best he's ever been. Tough one to call, and I hate making predictions, so I'm not even going to.
Fair enough. You're off the hook. Charles?
All right, I think Anderson Silva coming off an injury, and like I said, he's aging, and definitely that injury mentally, I'm sure he watched it and stuff like that. And Nick Diaz is very strong mentally, so I mean, I'm taking Nick Diaz for the fight.
You're the first person I've asked who said Nick Diaz.
I'm taking him just because I think it's a lot mental, the fighting, and coming off an injury like that with the leg. I mean, I don't like to make bold predictions. I'm not like 100%, but I just think he has a mental edge, and that's really important in fighting.
Well, yeah. Speaking of mental edges, coming back from such a horrific injury is extremely hard. If for any young fighters out there, can you give them any advice if they ever get injured? Do you guys know of any situation, anything that can help a fighter get back mentally from such an injury?
Well, I think, you always get better. Anytime I've been injured, I've always healed, and just you gotta nurse the injury and take care of it. But that's really the only advice I can give.
Yeah, I mean, so many great fighters have come back from major surgery and become champion or got their titles back. Look at Dominic Cruz. Yeah, he's just out 3 years and looked best he's ever has against Mizugaki. Same thing with GSP. He had his ACL surgery, came back, looked great. I once tore my ACL in a fight with Imanari in Japan. Tore everything in my knee. Had reconstructive surgery. Won 10 in a row and the WEC title straight after it. So
obviously no mental problems.
No, just a small bump in the road. That's all it is.
All right. Another fight. I'll let you off the hook with the predictions. It's probably going to happen, most likely, the rematch between Alexander Gustafsson and John Jones. Obviously, we're a Swedish show. We've got to ask, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I'm taking John Jones. I think he's just a little bit more athletic. He's a little more of a complete fighter. He's really good kicks and punches, and I just think all around he's a better fighter. I know Gustafsson's super tough fighter. He has a good mind, and he's going to go in there. And I mean, I think it'll be another 5-round war, but I think John Jones takes it.
All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much for the time. This is Sebastian Martinez here at StudioMMA, joined by former WC champion Mike Brown and UFC featherweight Charles Rosa. Thank you very much, gentlemen.